I think to some degree it has to be sacrificed in a relationship, but I think you need to put yourself first energetically. Like if you know it's going to really drain your cup or it's not something that you want to do, I don't think that's selfish. I think a lot of people look at it as, me included, as selfish because I'm not, helping them out or, doing enough for them.
Yeah.
And it's like, but if my cup's empty, I can't be there for them anyway.
Yeah. 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 I guess, let's say in a tangible example, you're like, oh, I should catch up with them or I should message them. And then you're like, well, you know what? I'm not going to do that. And then you don't speak to them for 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're less in a relationship and then they might be like, oh, hey, it's not what I wanted, move on. And then you're like, well, okay, I didn't show up in the way that would be what is conventionally, there's a certain threshold you have to be in communication and putting energy into a dynamic to support it, right?
Yeah, I think there's give and take in a relationship, like let's say, for instance, a girl I was seeing recently lived 45 minutes away. So I was going there predominantly, which was a better scenario because there was privacy there. But, I think, there is a point where, it's not, maybe it sort of is, I guess, expected that they meet you halfway sometimes. You know what I mean? Like they might come down this way once a week. Let's say it's a better environment down there. So I'll go there 3 times a week.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think that, there has to be some form of sacrifice, but not, it depends how much it depletes you. And I think it depends if you're still healing from stuff as well.
Yeah. Well, probably ultimately as well, do you want it to go towards being a relationship? Because if you did, then you'd probably do the things that would contribute to that.
Yeah, that's
if you're not really seeing a future in it, then you're going to be like, oh, actually, I'm just going to, not do something because I think I should.
Yeah.
Because that's probably the underlying thought that it's not, I don't want to give a false impression by doing something I should. And then later on, hey, I'm not feeling it. And then along the way, your actions are saying, yes, I'm feeling it. And then you're like, out of nowhere, at least if like you're not doing things you don't feel like, the writing's kind of on the wall, like, you can read someone's actions.
You're not setting them up for failure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because that's something that's...
What's it called? Leading them on.
Yeah. Because that is, people pleasing, essentially an aspect of it that comes up in relationships where I've really failed with that. Like where I'm like, oh, when I interact with women, it has to be in this way. And you're following a set of rules in your head of how you should be behaving instead of authentically expressing. And then, you're continuing to act in a certain way that a relationship is, but meanwhile your emotions are fucking declining.
Yeah.
And then you hit this point where you're like, cool, not into it now. And then it's like a real blow to them because I thought everything was going well. And you're like, yeah. And then you're like, it's so hard to marry that up in your mind where you're like, how do I express what I didn't know I wasn't feeling it until I got to this point? And
oh, wow, man. That's the way you just said that. Like, that's so true. And I can relate to that so much. Like, because essentially, like, what you're doing is you're not being authentic. So they have a right to be annoyed at that. Like, come 2-3 months down the track, like you said, your energy's declined because you're not being authentic and you're doing what you think you should do. Because I guess you're still finding yourself or learning to trust yourself.
Yeah.
And this is what I've done so many times. And then you get to a point where you're like depleted it because you're not being authentic. You're not even really consciously aware of this at the time. Like I am now, but throughout doing it, I wasn't.
No.
And then, so it was an aspect of, like I said, people pleasing. So I'm people pleasing going, yeah, no, I need to go to this dinner. I need to go to this. I need to drive and catch up with them. Then all of a sudden you like pull out, you're like, no, like I can't keep doing this. I'm sorry, but this isn't working for me. And it's like, hang on, you've just been so consistently, loving them and showing up for them that they've got this certain expectation.
Yeah.
And so you look like an absolute dick now. And the reality of it is you just didn't really trust yourself fully or what, know what you valued fully at the time. So you were just acting a certain way to help them and to do what, you thought would actually make them happy.
Exactly. Because that's exactly what I was about to say. In my own experience, it's come from a deep belief that this is what's going to give them the best experience. I want to make them feel good because at the deepest part of it, you really value women that highly that you want to make them feel good. And that belief causes you to override what you actually want to do, that leads into like, oh, these are the set of rules that I have to follow. And then your mind is over dominating what you're actually wanting. And it's so hard to get to that point, because once that's been like an indoctrinated pattern, you know, when you go to do something where you're like, actually, you're about to say, actually, I don't feel like going out tonight. Every fiber of your body is like, oh no, this is going to be like upsetting to them. It's going to be the wrong thing to say. And that's one of the worst fears that I've had, like when expressing my emotions that might be negative, would be like, oh, this is going to hurt them. So I delay it, keep catching up, whatever. And then like it gets to a point where I'm like, I cannot possibly do this. And then I have to do it like all of those little kind of rejections that would have been along the way. I have to do in one massive rejection that like blindsides them and like catches them off guard. Also doesn't help that I used to have this belief that when you expressed your emotions, it would hurt the other. And then that created the reality.
Oh, we're identical in that area. Like that's been the pattern of mine as well. And yeah, you're so right. Like you said, if you were to say what you're actually thinking and what you actually wanted in the present moment, it would be all these really tiny little road bumps.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be this crash at the end. So it'd just be like, oh no, today I'm not, I'm a little bit tired. I don't feel like catching up for coffee, but maybe in the future, next week we could.
Yeah.
Or in the next couple of days, I can keep you posted.
Yeah.
As opposed you go to the coffee, it builds up this turmoil inside you. And eventually it's like, you can only take so much. It's almost like an implode. And you're just like, no, I've got to pull out of this. I've got to go. And then you have the added guilt of I've led this person on, or, I've been showing up this way. And now, I've completely flipped the script. Like I'm an asshole. And your intention is actually to be a good person. And that I think the inner turmoil, what that's telling you, what I've realized with any inner turmoil or conflict, what it always comes down to is your values. So in some way, shape or form, you're going against a value. So let's say you're conflicted about going to see a girl, like I had it the other day. It was 9 p.m, invited me round. I had not finished my routine of like journaling, my day plan for the next day, and I was going to meditate to go to sleep, make sure I had a decent sleep, had a busy day the next day. I decided, no, look, I'm going to go there, partly, I was not even partly, let's say predominantly to keep her happy. Also, there's a part that was like lust, and I was like, yeah, that'll be fun. So I'll head around, yeah. But what happened was like I felt so anxious on the drive there. And I was like, what is this? Like, what, there's no tiger coming at me. There's no I'm not about to crash. Like, what the hell is going on? So yeah, basically what I realized was I'm going against my values. And whenever I'm going against my values, there's an inner conflict. So I value my mental health more than I do spending a night with a girl and this. So like right now, if you're having this inner conflict about going to see this girl, I think, what that could be, or what I've found it to be, is it's that whatever reason you don't want to see that girl is more valuable right now. And that's the path that you need to be on right now.
Yeah.
So that recently, just to add to that, like I was talking to somebody, like just as I've been doing the NA, and what they say is like take a year or so to really heal yourself before getting heavily involved in a relationship. When you're coming from trauma and all that sort of background, because you're still finding yourself, and you can not only can they get hurt in the process, but you can really hurt yourself in that process. But I'm of the opinion that trial and error is a better avenue, but that's me.
Yeah, there's always the optimal approach, but sometimes, and probably the people going through NA and that have had addictive paths, it's better to go kind of a rite of passage and work out what does and doesn't work for yourself.
Yeah.
And just to kind of chuck another frame in what you said before, where if it's going against your values, you had that anxiety on the drive there, you could almost say as well, it wasn't what you truly wanted to do at a higher level, like your higher self was guiding you in a certain way, and then your kind of more human self chose a different path, and then there's that conflict.
Absolutely, yeah. That's but I think the awesome thing to come back to is that the values. You know what I mean? Like whenever you're feeling that conflict, there's a guide out of that conflict.
Yeah.
Go, all right, what value am I trying to push down or trying to suppress? You know, what's my body trying to tell me here? Because, you know, anxiety, all they say, it's all your body trying to tell you something. Whether it's physical pain or mental pain, it's your body trying to tell you something. You've just got to figure out what that is.
And that's the key, because if you can attribute that to, oh, it's because I didn't do the things that I wanted to do tonight that I knew that I value, then the next time that situation comes up again, you're going to have an association with that anxiety and not doing that thing where you're going to be like, yeah, I don't want to feel that again. I'm going to do this. And it's going to keep you more on track.
Absolutely, it is. Yeah, I mean, thousands of times I've just pushed through the anxiety, thinking that, oh no, like misunderstanding the anxiety,
and attributing it to something else.
I'm afraid. I'm just fearful, and I need to face my fears.
Been gaslighting yourself.
Been gaslighting myself, man, 100%. But it's like, no, like that's my body telling me that's not the path. Like I know from recently going to other new gyms, the positive feeling, man, is amazing. I had all this turmoil for like a few years at this other gym. And there are a lot of aspects that we talked about before of reasons why anyone would have anxiety or, you know, not feel great going in certain environments. But yeah, I think even as a teenager, man, I pushed through a lot of dangerous environments that didn't serve me with this underlying belief that I need to, I don't know, but I guess like be tough.
Yeah.
In a sense, you know what I mean? Like I need to face this when it's like, no, man, you need to do what makes you happy and you're comfortable with.
100%.